have finished making this cut now, so we've got it all ready to take apart. And a couple things I want to talk about is one problem you'll run into a lot of times, even after you've been scrolling for a while, is that while you're cutting, the pattern will start lifting on you a little bit. And you can, as you're cutting, reach in here with your fingers around the blade, and you can get pretty close and hold these pieces down as you're cutting. So if you find that a corner is starting to lift on you and you can't see the pattern, just hold your finger up there. You know, you don't want to get so close that you actually nick your finger, obviously, but just enough to hold that part of the pattern down. And you'll find that as you come away from that and get into a more solid area where the paper's glued down better, then you'll be able to let go again. So that's another little thing you might run into. Another thing is when you go to take these pieces apart after you get them cut, you'll notice that if the piece falls out as you lift it up like this one is, or if you can reach underneath it and push it up out this direction, if it comes out just as easy either direction, then you know your blade is parallel with the table, which is pretty important when you get into some more intricate cuts. So you want to watch for that. If your table's actually sitting at an angle, the bottom of the piece or the top of the piece will be smaller, so it won't be able to push it out in that direction. So when you get done, as long as you see that your pieces are coming out real nice like this on both directions, you know you're squared up real good. So that's something to look for also. Okay, with that, let's take this over to the workbench, and I'll talk a little bit about how to get the patterns off if you have a stubborn pattern and some things like that. Back over here at the workbench now, and I've got the piece we just cut out, and it's still got the pattern affixed to the top of it. Now, a couple things can happen with your pattern, both of which are a little bit of a nuisance. One we already talked about, where the pattern is not affixed tight enough to the wood and it'll lift on you while you're cutting. And again, it's a little bit of technique sensitive on how much glue to use, how long to let the glue air dry before you put the pattern on the wood, and you'll get a feel for that after a while. You'll get a feel for the brand of glue you use and how that works. The other problem you'll have is you'll get back over to your workbench and you go to take the pattern off, and it'll be affixed so tight you can't pull it off. And as you pull the pieces off, it'll start coming off in little shreds, and it's really a nuisance. Well, one of the things that helps that is covering it with the box tape like we did at the beginning. It'll actually give you a little better surface to get a hold of and peel it off. But the best trick I've found, if you get a piece that you just can't get off, is get yourself one of these heat guns. I bought this cheap one at Harbor Freight for like $9.99. It was really cheap. And if you'll take this heat gun and set it up on a tight pattern, and go ahead and just hold it on the edge of one of these patterns just long enough to get it hot, a lot of times the pattern will just literally peel right off the paper, just like it's doing right here. Let me zoom in on this so you can see it. Okay, if you watch, what's happening here is the pattern's literally just going to bubble right up off the wood, and you'll see that it'll just literally fall off just from the heat. So get yourself one of these heat guns, and you'll be surprised when you get those real stubborn patterns. It'll take you like a couple seconds instead of several minutes to get the pattern to come off. So you can see it's literally just melting right off the wood. So these things are very handy to have. I wouldn't be without one, and they're cheap if you get a cheap one like over at Harbor Freight or something like that. So you can see as I pulled that off where I didn't have the heat on it, down here on the end it left a little residue. So what I'll do is just go ahead and heat that up. Now the tape, the actual adhesive tape came off of that one. I just have paper left there, so it usually won't bubble up and pull off like it did with the tape on it. So we'll probably have to pry this one up once we get it heated up here real good. Now this particular pattern wasn't affixed that hard anyway, so this one I probably could have just peeled off from the beginning. But anyway, if you have that problem, use your heat gun and you'll just be able to scrape this pattern right off. Now I've seen people take these pieces over to their sander and sand on them for 10 or 15 minutes to get all the pattern off. You don't need to do that. Get yourself a heat gun, and that's all you'll need to get the pattern off your piece. Okay, there's our finished World's Best Mom cutout. I know this was a very simple project, but I've had a lot of requests in the email lately about just some of the very basics. And we didn't cover everything tonight, but I think we got a few tips in there, at least enough to make it a worthwhile video. So make one of these for your mom for Mother's Day, and let her know what you think of her. Okay, see everybody in the next video, and don't forget to visit my blog at www.scrollsawworkshop.blogspot.com.